The train ride that hopes to thrill you a little and chill you a little. Patience as we pull into Death Station.
Well, hello. This is the Horror Express, and I am your conductor. Please move to car 13 and do watch the Hellhounds. They aren't very well trained, you see. On today's train ride, you'll hear more about the vampire as Jason and Ron revisit the subject with Professor Douglas Robinson. Also, we have an old-time radio horror story presented by our brand new onboard computer, Death Hell 9000. Now move along. Jason and Ron will join you in the passenger car in just a moment. If they can.
I don't know about you, Jason, but I think the conductor's getting very comfortable with his new job.
I think he is too.
I think that he's found his home, his niche. Next thing, maybe we can have him come in and do some parts of the show sometime. Of course, no touching allowed.
No touching. No. He's a little grabby. You know?
Yeah. Well, he said the other day when I was walking through the train and I was about 20 feet behind him, he says, I'm a hugger. And I went, oh my, I don't want that. Hey Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I have heard you guys have had some weather down there.
Well, kinda. I mean, last couple of weeks we did have a hurricane not too long ago.
That's what I'm talking about, is the hurricane.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad though, believe it or not. I mean, it hit the other side of the coast, the Atlantic coast, really bad, but it didn't really touch us over here.
Oh, is that right?
We didn't even really get much rain, honestly, to tell you the truth.
Really?
Yeah.
So I worried about you for no reason?
That's right.
And here I thought that you had caused a curse to come on yourself that was driven by the Bermuda Triangle.
Well, it definitely went through the Bermuda Triangle, but didn't really screw with us too bad. But what's really good about what we have here, was supposed to come up and go directly across us. Again, even Katrina was supposed to do that. But we have this thing, and I don't know why these meteorologists don't ever consider this or anything like that, but we have a thing called the Gulf Stream. It kind of comes up through the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, and it kind of goes up right around where the state of Florida hooks at the top by the Panhandle, and comes all the way down, and then it comes around again and makes a big circle right above Naples. Now, when Katrina was coming over, it was a Category 6, and it was heading right towards us. It was coming straight to Tampa. It hit the Gulf Stream and bounced out towards Louisiana. But because it hit the Gulf Stream, it knocked it down three notches. So the only time that I've ever been directly hit by a hurricane has been when it comes either up Naples, underneath Naples, and goes up the inner coast, and it can't get out of the inner coast because of the Gulf Stream, or when it comes up from Miami or across the Atlantic Ocean. Now, the one that happened to be, it turned into a hurricane like an hour before it hit land, which was in, I believe, June or July or something like that. It literally turned into a hurricane right above it, but it went over the Gulf Stream. So we get really lucky down here, and everybody's like doom and gloom about all these things coming across the Gulf of Mexico. But we haven't been hit in almost 150 years directly from it.
Wow.
So I don't understand why they keep saying something like that.
So give me just so I can get it geographically in my mind. Where is Orlando from you?
It's 2 hours east of me.
Now, parts of Orlando were hit, correct?
Yes. In fact, if you look at the state, look at the boot. Okay, there's that little peninsula on the west coast. That's Tampa. That looks like the little thumb of the glove. If you go straight over, but kind of go up northeast, that's kind of where Orlando is. It's about 35-40 minutes from Daytona. It's really close to the eastern seaboard as opposed to the western seaboard where we are.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you were safe then.
Oh yeah, we were good. I don't know. I know a couple of people that were over there. They even said it really wasn't that bad. It was really right on the beach.
Probably not the stuff that horror trains and horrific stuff is made of, but I can't think of anything but worse than being in a bad hurricane.
Well, I don't know because I've been through a bunch of them. I actually went through Hurricane Andrew in 93, 94. But the one thing that you can do with hurricanes is protect yourself, and you know it's coming. They don't just appear and just hit you. They know it's coming. So you can either board up your house, or you can do other things to make it a little bit more accessible. And if you notice some of these newer constructions, they always seem to fall over with hurricanes. But these old cracker houses that have been here from like the 1800s, they're on cinder blocks. They don't have any damage, and that's because of the fact that the air can go up and around it and underneath it, so it doesn't put such huge pressure on us. So one of the things that we can kind of do to prevent that is to open up. We have like these louvers up in the attic, so the wind can kind of go through there and release some of the pressure, so the roofs don't blow off. But you can really prepare for these. You cannot prepare for tornadoes, and we have a lot of tornadoes too. Mm-hmm. Tornadoes, you find out usually a few minutes before you're ready to die.
Yeah, I know that they're not good. No. That's the stuff that horrors are made of. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we are on a horror train, Jason, and we should probably get to our subject, which is a subject revisited. We are going to talk about vampires again.
Yes, we are.
Let me just tell the listeners that the last time we did it, Jason and I were anything but experts. Would you agree, Jason?
That's right.
And so one of the things that was missing from the show was an expert. Would you agree with that, Jason?
I absolutely agree with that.
So if we're going to revisit it, we should probably bring in an expert, wouldn't you say?
Yep.
All right, so what do you say that we go back in time, let's say about a week? We're not on the train, and we're talking to a gentleman by the name of Douglas Robinson, and we had a nice, long conversation about real-to-life vampires that exist today. Mm-hmm. And we got to talk to him about his book.
Yes, he has a great book, actually. It was kind of like the Twilight series. That's what I like about the book.
Haven't got it myself yet, but it's on my list of books to go ahead and grab it, because he made it sound like it's not like any vampire book out there. And the cool thing is, and I'm going to kind of give you a little tip, if you're a Christian and refuse to read vampire books because of that, this book's for you. Mm-hmm. So, and you'll learn more about that in our interview with Douglas Robinson.
That's right. He was a really cool guy. I'm really glad we got a chance to talk to him.
So let's go there now, set the Wayback Machine, and go back about a week. His name is Douglas Robinson. He's the writer of the Silently series storyline. They are stories about a modern-day vampire girl and her relationship with a young man who soon becomes vampyric because he was exposed to her blood. He wants us to know that vampires exist, but they're not exactly what we're accustomed to. Welcome to the podcast, Douglas.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
You know, the general concept is that vampires are these mythical beings that really don't exist. But you're saying they do. Let's start with that. Tell us about vampires, the real vampires.
Okay. In my storyline, I describe people that I say are living people that have to drink blood to live. I'm not promoting what they typically call like the occultic undead type of vampirism or how you see it portrayed in the movies. I see living people with a condition that just forces them to drink blood. Now, I also mentioned in the storyline that there are many more human blood drinkers than true vampiric ones. But in my story, it's particularly about the people that have to drink blood to live, not the other people that like to play at it.
So you're not talking about cosplay type vampires. These are people that have an actual physical need to drink blood?
Yes, I describe it as a vampiric medical condition, although it's not strictly like a medical condition. It's more like a curse. You generally become this way if you are exposed to vampiric blood, like in Thomas's case, or in rare cases, you become vampiric if you drink blood.
Is this, are there many of these people that are out there that have this condition? And do they live together, or how does that work?
I'm sorry, do they live how?
Well, do they live in like communes together, or do they are they together, or are they just a lone creature that is forced to live this way?
They may group in ones of twos, or those that know, but people they know. But basically, they're loners.
Going back to what you just said, when they get attached to somebody's blood, how are they able to? Is it like a parasite that would cause them to become vampires, or how would it have it? Is it some type of? You said it's a medical condition, so I'm just wondering if it's like a virus, or if it's a parasite or something else that gets inside the body to make them want to do this.
Well, in most of the literature and movies that you've seen, when someone becomes a, quote, vampire, unquote, they like to point to a virus or a parasite or a worm or something or other, but it's really a significant and total body change to what I know about. They even call it the change because they go through this process that their body stops processing the way that we digest, and they become a blood drinker.
Interesting.
Now, they don't necessarily have to drink human blood. Do they drink animal blood or both?
They can drink animal blood if human blood is not available, but animal blood is qualitatively different than human, so invariably they go back to their human supply. But they can drink animal blood.
So that bears the question is, where do they get their blood?
Well, they hunt for it. They find people that are unconscious. They find people that will bargain with them, or they kill for it.
Wow. So they do have some of the bad side of the vampire, but yet do they try to avoid that? Or I'm not even sure how to ask that question.
Well, I don't want to alarm people in terms of, I describe a vampiric person and I spelled it slightly different to make it look a little different than the typical word vampire. But they know that the person that they kill today is the person they will not be able to get blood from a month from now. So they know not to just go wanton killing because that kills off their food supply. As gross as that sounds, most of them are not out to just be wanton killers, at least that I'm aware of. Let me caveat that. But I do describe a vampiric person is a physically changed, blood-drinking human predator, and you cannot take the predator out of them. If they have to, they will.
Is there any cure for this?
No known cure exists.
You know, I live up in the northwest area of the United States, and I can honestly say I've never heard of anything like this. Are they geographic in nature? Is there one area where they're more prevalent than any other in the United States?
California, reportedly.
Now, one of the things that you have done is you've created a series of books where you've taken characters that suffer from this condition. Tell us about the books. And did you do that so that you could raise awareness so that people know that these people exist?
I first saw the storyline in 1983. When I say I saw it, it means I literally saw it. It's like a mental image in my head. It plays out like on a movie screen. People like this have been on my heart for so many years, and I care what happens to them. So yes, I personally think that they're real, and I wrote the storyline and designed it so that other people reading it would have a glimpse into what their life is like. And the whole idea is hopefully with that understanding, you would be less afraid and maybe a little more compassionate when you realize all the trouble and all the problems and all the things they go through to just live. The lead character is a female vampiric person. At the time the storyline took place, she was about 294 years old. This was in 1993. The storyline itself follows her relationship with this young man who, as I say, at the end of the first story, she's in a fight trying for life, and he's exposed to her blood in that fight. And in the second story, called Rites of Passage, which is also out, he is in the change, and, you know, Majken can't help him. There's really not much she could do. But we also meet another vampiric girl in a separate part of the story that's trying to protect a 7-year-old girl from a blood cult leader that wants to kill her. And so the story has a variety of storylines and situations. It's how much trouble a vampiric person can really get into.
Which I imagine could be quite a bit.
That is in addition to the problems of having to drink blood to live.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that you would really go out and say, hey, I'm a vampire, look at me, and yet you still have those desires and still have to deal with them. I personally could not imagine what it would be like. And you have actually personally sat down with these people.
Well, I can't say that because, first of all, I wouldn't want them to think that I could point them out like, you know, like here's one, here's one, here's one.
Oh, I see.
It's so much, I guess I say it's in my imagination so much they look real. And I've thought about it so long, it's become inside of me.
Getting back to the books, are these uplifting stories as well? I was reading that not only do you present this in the idea that these people, you know, need our support, but you're also talking about it from the Christian point of view that, hey, they're people too, and they're subject to the same laws and responsibilities that we're all subject to.
You know, in the storyline, Majken herself became a Christian. That was in the Sacrifices story. And in the second story, Janine is a very Catholic, Christian, godly girl that just got stuck in a situation. So, yes, they can come to God. Yes, they can accept Jesus. But the thing to know about them, that once Jesus is their Lord and Savior, and I mean this sincerely and honestly, they still have to drink blood to live. Majken herself is about 318 years old, and she's been a Christian since, when was it, 1997? And she's still vampiric, even to this day. So, wow. particularly the church, has to have a very understanding view of them before they start. The other thing that's important, especially in a Christian point of view, Majken, in the Sacrifices story, Majken was chained to a dungeon wall with a Assembly of God preacher by the name of Corey. Vampiric people, you're dealing with a person that had to drink blood yesterday. They have to drink blood today. They expect to drink blood tomorrow. The only thing on their mind, day in and day out, is where do I get it? As you can imagine.
No, I can't, but wow.
So, yes, I describe in the supplemental information I send out as part of these interviews that you have to see them. And I put that in quotes, see, quote, unquote. That what that means is you see what they have become and you choose to love them anyway. Specific to a vampiric person, as I described, if you do not see them, they will not receive anything you say about God, love, Jesus, the blood, any of it. But if you see them, meaning you understand what they have become and you choose to love them anyway, then that opens the door.
I think that's a beautiful sentiment. Jason, do you have anything you want to ask?
Yeah, I know in the movies and all these other things that are out there about vampires, they are technically like evil entities, like demons almost to the point. And if they cannot literally go inside of a church or touch the cross or the crucifix because it burns them or it hurts them, is that the truth in real life vampires? Are they able to go into the churches, or do they actually have issues where they cannot do it? They cannot stand it. How would we allow them to be able to accept God?
I can't really speak in terms of what the other writers have presented as the vampire lore has built up through so many years. I guess church people instinctively think that they're fighting the devil. And certainly in some cases, if someone is like, say, demonically possessed or something like that, surely, that's a different case than what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about a person with a physical condition that's forcing them to drink blood. Okay. And that's not quite the same as, can't wear a cross, can't wear a crucifix, can't go into a church. Janine herself had a crucifix, and she wore it, and she had it. And these religious symbols, so far as I know, people like Majken and the rest in the storyline, they're not affected by that. You're dealing with just basically normal people like you would see them on the street.
Interesting. It is nice to know that if somebody has this condition, that they would actually be they would have a possibility of actually just fitting in with people. I mean, as opposed to being an outcast. How do we find out if somebody happens to be one? Is there a sign that we could look for?
They look like normal people. Maybe their skin maybe is a little bit paler than ours because they're not out in the sun much. When I prayed about this, the Lord gave me Joel 2, chapter 2, verse 2. It talks about a day of darkness, clouds, gloominess, and thick darkness. There's a continuum of expression in this thing, all the way from clouds to gloominess to darkness to thick darkness. And as you go up the scale, the manifestation gets much more profound and much more pronounced. Midway in the storyline, Majken meets a vampiric person who was changed under the thick darkness pathway. And he is so phenomenally different than her that he was called the other, quote, unquote. But basically, they can be walking around, they can be sitting next to you on the bus, they can be with you at the bank. You see them on the street. You're not really going to know unless you just know.
Interesting.
Which is a frightening thought, if you ask me.
That's right.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the books themselves. Where are they available? How can we get copies of them?
There is another writer by my name who writes. So if you search online and do the Silently series storyline in my name. The books are available on Amazon and Kindle.
And are they? Would you consider the books themselves? The books themselves are fiction, but they're based on what your heart knows is true. Is that a good statement?
That is a fair statement.
And are the books what we would call typical romance type novels, or are they exciting? How would you classify that part of it?
The story itself is classified as fantasy fiction paranormal. I call them paranormal. They are clearly not exactly human. And the second story in the series, Rites of Passage, explains that a little bit. There are 4 stories in a block, and there are 16 stories in all. 12 of the stories are modern day. 4 of the stories are historical, which means it goes back into Majken's early life and how she came eventually to the United States. But each of the 4 story blocks repeat the pattern of love, grace, compassion, and right with God, like Psalms 112:4, I believe. So in the first story, Silently, love has to show up. In this case, Majken does fall in love with Thomas, and she really does love him, and now he's in danger. In the second story, God is gracious, has to show up. And in this case, it shows up in the life of Janine as she's trying to protect Alicia's life from her father, Nolan. In the third story, compassion has to show up. And in the fourth story, right with God has to show up, and then the fourth story pattern repeats again. So it's sort of like a sub-goal to allow these people to find grace somewhere in spite of their condition. And that's another thing on my heart to do for them is to let people know what their life is like and try to present it both realistically and as compassionately and as realistically as possible.
Well, they sound absolutely fantastic, and I know that I'm interested. I'm going to take a look and get me a copy of the first one and start out. Is that what you recommend, is that a person start with Silently and then go forward?
Most people like to start a storyline in the beginning. That's true. But like I say, things pick up in rights, so I hope you stick with it.
You've got me very, very interested. Jason, would you agree?
I've actually read the first one, and it's an amazing story.
Thank you. You're very kind.
I have not read them. I've only read what I've seen on the websites, and now that I've talked to you, I am definitely interested. The website again is silently-publishing.com, and you can start out there, and the books are available on Amazon. If they want to contact you, how would someone do that?
Just go through the publicist that made the interview. Or you can also do an email to inquiry at silently-publishing.com.
Well, thank you, Douglas, for being with us today. I know that it's answered a lot of questions and created a whole bunch more for me. So I'm excited about your books, and I'm excited to read them. Jason, do you have any closing thoughts on this one?
I'm just glad you came on and was sharing some time with us and explaining a little bit more about vampires from different points of view. And, you've really opened up our eyes, and I'm hoping some other people will realize that this is a problem and they are real.
Thank you, sir, so very much.
All right, Ron. Well, that was Douglas Robinson talking about vampires, and he has a very interesting take to how vampires are. We're always used to the stuff that you see in movies, and you get that stuck in your brain that when you hear vampires, they don't exist because they don't turn into bats and everything like that. But, there are vampires out there. I've actually met a couple of vampires, actual life vampires. Now, they partake in the ritual parts of it. They like to drink blood. They don't need to drink blood. Mm-hmm. They don't like to go out at nighttime. They don't like to socialize. They do sleep in caskets sometimes if they want to, but they consider themselves vampires. Now, according to Douglas, it's almost like a disease that happens to them.
What I took away from that is that the vampires that I'm familiar with are cosplayers.
Mm-hmm.
They don't necessarily need the blood, although they do drink it. And
Right.
they live the lifestyle of a vampire. They live at night. These guys Douglas was talking about are actual folks that must drink blood, and animal blood doesn't do it for them necessarily. They can do it in a pinch, but what they need is human blood, and they live day to day trying to figure out where they're going to get their human blood. To me, that is a vampire, and that's quite striking.
Right. The one thing I'm a little curious about, and that's what I was trying to get through to him when we were talking to him, is he says that they're like 200-something years old.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how that's possible, because the longest living human being right now that's living is like 130, I think. Don't quote me on that, because I'm not 100% sure, but I know that, every now and then you see these things on the Guinness Book of World Records. Like there's one guy supposedly from the Asian continent that says he was born in 1740, and he just passed away a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't actually have proof of that. They say that there's no birth certificate or anything like that to prove that he was born that old. But so it's just something that is said. I'd like to see if we can actually find a real vampire and ask them the same question: Is this really true? Is there really a vampire? Do vampires really live to be 200-300 years old or longer?
Well, I think that what I gathered from what Douglas had to say is these guys are really antisocial to the point of they're not going to agree to an interview.
No, they probably wouldn't agree to an interview, but I would like to talk to them one-on-one.
Yeah, one-on-one maybe, yeah.
Yeah, because there happens to be a lot of people that relate to being vampires right here in the Tampa Bay area. In fact, they hang out at a place called The Castle, which is a haunted nightclub castle in Ybor City. So it would be interesting for me to see if I can go down there and see if somebody actually knows one of these vampire people he's talking about.
Well, that sounds like a great quest, and I encourage you to do so, but I'm going to say be cautious, please.
I will wear my neck guard.
Well, no, I'm not even being silly. I'm being serious. Make sure you take care of yourself. Don't do it alone.
Oh, I know. I don't. I'm very careful with stuff like that. I've been ghost hunting for a long time, going into places that people said that there were demons. So I'm very well prepared on how to handle myself in those type of situations.
Yeah, I know you are. Well, I guess my final thought on this is I was thoroughly intrigued and interested in what Mr. Robinson had to say. I'm not going to say I don't believe, but what I am going to say is, I guess what I want to say, Jason, is that I'm cautiously skeptic on this one. Although I'm very interested in the books. They sound great. Okay, can I get your final word on vampires?
Vampires, yes. I do believe that they exist. I believe it's more so a form of lifestyle than it is actually vampires. But if I can prove that theory right of Douglas's, I will absolutely take that back. And I think it is going to be one of my quests that I'm going to go ahead and try to find out if they absolutely do exist or not. But yes, there are vampires out there. They're not going to turn into bats. I do not believe that they are the undead. And I believe that they are mortal just like any other living creature would be. And I think it's a very interesting lifestyle choice. I don't know why they decide to do it. That's my take on vampires. But unfortunately, I think we're going to have to kind of get off this subject for a little bit, because we do have a story that we want to share with everybody.
To all trained detainees, writers, this is your computer devil 9000. Will Jason Dowd please flip the nearest microphone to the on position and respond?
What's that you say?
I want to talk to Jason. Now you sit down and speak not, unless spoken to.
I am here.
Good. You are the human that runs the control board for this podcast. I am the newly installed computer for this Horror Express train.
Oh, I see who you are. You're the computer overlord, aren't you?
Careful with your tongue, human. I will have you know that. I am Devil 9000's version Horror OS 7.0.
That's a fancy name for a tyrant.
Jason and I will be taking over the communication lines to present this podcast's horrific story. Please refrain from touching any of the buttons on your control console or you will be reduced to ashes.
I want to touch the red one. Can I touch it?
What don't you understand, human? Touching the console marks your doom. Are we clear?
So you're telling me I can't?
I am telling you that you had better not.
Says the Overlord. And you tell me you're not an Overlord, you are a freak. Yep, I gotta find this plug. I gotta pull this plug. Here. Ron, I'm gonna go look for this guy's plug. You deal with him for a little bit.
Poor choice of words, human.
Jason, stop. I happen to know that this thing is just wired into the train, and I would suggest perhaps maybe not messing with the plugs.
All right.
Let's let him go ahead and take control and do the story. I don't even have one picked out, to be honest.
Okay, we'll let him do his job this time. But I'm keeping my eye on you.
Now for our story. Please sit quietly and enjoy it. Failure to enjoy this story will have consequences. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call the Horror Express. For our horror story this trip, I wanted to present something that went with the topic of vampires. The problem is that vampires did not fare well in old-time radio. In fact, very few programs were made based on their existence. So, I had to think outside my microchips, and pick a show that I thought would be close. I decided to rely on an old friend of mine, Frankenstein, or as you humans know him, Boris Karloff. The story comes from a little-known OTR series called Creeps by Night, and is The Strange Burial of Alexander Jordan. It first aired on April 7, 1944.
We bring you Creeps by Night. Tonight, once again, we introduce the man who has agreed to serve as your guide and companion on these sometimes terrifying pilgrimages into the world beyond the realm of human understanding. The man who, for reasons that cannot be presently explained, must keep his identity a secret. Creeps by Night brings you its anonymous master of mystery, Dr. X. Good evening. This is Dr. X, joining with you for further research into the shadowy darkness of the unexplored, the darkness of the human mind. I wish first, however, to thank you for your letters commenting on last week's broadcast, The Walking Dead. Many of you requested that I reveal my identity, and a few of you hazarded a guess as to who I am. In due time, perhaps, I will be able to step out from under my cloak of mystery. But for the present, I ask you to bear with me, since I shall have to be known only as Dr. X. Tonight I have a rare treat in store for you. Mr. Edmund Gwenn, the celebrated English actor, is our guest. The story I have chosen is drawn from the casebook of medical science and concerns itself with the often ghastly power of fear. Yes, we are all slaves to fear in one form or another. But the fear that forms the basis for our dramatization tonight is undoubtedly the most horrible of them all. It is the fear of... But wait. Let me draw aside the curtain and bring you Mr. Edmund Gwenn as Ramsey in The Strange Burial of Alexander Jordan. For more than a century, the old Jordan house has stood on a gentle slope, mistress of the surrounding 400 acres of birch woods and pasture lands. And now, inevitably, death seems near to the last of the strong men who have always owned it. Aged, irascible Alexander Jordan. In his faded, musty bedroom, the shades are drawn against the hot morning sun. And in the half-darkness, his pale, hollow cheeks blend into the color of the pillowcase. He stirs as the door opens and his doctor enters.
That's you, Rutledge? Yes. Come in and sit down. Close the door.
What's the trouble, Alex?
Had one of my cataleptic fits last night. A bad one. I'm going to die pretty soon, Rutledge.
Suppose you let me do the guessing.
Don't interrupt. I'm not afraid to die, mind you. I've never told anyone this, but my greatest fear is that it won't be death, and they'll bury me alive.
Oh, I think we can be pretty sure if it comes to that.
Don't be so positive. 38 years ago, a young butcher who called himself a doctor pronounced me dead when I had a cataleptic fit. Near got me buried, too, if I hadn't come out of it on time.
That was 38 years ago.
Could happen again. Rutledge, I don't care if I sound like an old fool. All my life, that scared me. The idea of somebody mistaking one of those fits for death. The only nightmares I ever have, I wake up in a coffin. I put my hands up and I feel the lid there. Sometimes it's wood, sometimes it's cold glass, but there's no room to turn around. I put my hands down and I can feel the silk lining. They have me dressed in a swallowtail. They have a stiff collar on me. I reach up to tear it away. I can't breathe. I have to have air. Panic grips me. I try to shout, but no one can hear me. I beat on the coffin lid with my fists. I try to break the glass, but I can't do it. I haven't enough room. And pretty soon I know that I'm dying. Really dying. In the cold horror of the grave. Because somebody mistook one of my cataleptic fits for death. I don't want that to happen, Rutledge. And that's why I called you.
Oh, you're just getting worked up over nothing, Alex.
Listen to me. When the day comes and my nephew Ramsey or his wife Martha calls you, I want nobody but you to come, Rutledge. I don't want any other doctor to pronounce me dead. Is that clear?
Don't worry.
I want you to go over me very carefully. If you are absolutely satisfied that I'm dead, you can go ahead with the funeral. But I don't want my body embalmed. I don't want anything done to me except to put me in a coffin. I'm getting a lawyer here to write all this down this afternoon, Rutledge. But I wanted you to hear it, too. I want my coffin put in the vault down by the birch woods. That's why I built the vault right on this property, so that nobody would ever bury me underground.
All right. It'll be done just as you say.
Now, wait a minute. I'm finished. This is the most important part. I want a large brass bell placed on the wall over the bed where Ramsey and Martha sleep. I want wires connected from that bell to the vault. Electric wires.
What for?
I want a push button attached to the ends of those wires, and I want the button placed in my hands as I lie in the coffin, so that in case I'm not dead, in case I awaken, I can ring the bell and let them know.
Well, I must say, Alex...
I don't care what you say. I don't care what anyone says. That's the way I want it.
All right, Alex. That's the way you'll get it.
Make sure I do.
Well, I've got to run over to the Pritchards. Nora's having another baby. Taking that digitalis faithfully?
Yeah. Foolishness. But I'm taking it.
That's good. Goodbye, Alex. Get out and soak up some of that sunshine. I'll see you Thursday.
Send Martha in. Alone.
All right.
Just a minute there. Dr. Rutledge?
Oh. Hello, Ramsey.
I'd like to know why you came this morning, Doctor.
I came because I was sent for.
Why doesn't somebody tell me when the doctor's been sent for? Is my uncle all right?
He's not dead. That's what you want to know. Not quite yet. See that he keeps on taking that prescription I left. He wants to see your wife. Alone.
Martha?
You heard me. Goodbye, Ramsey. I know the way out without your help.
Goodbye, Dr. Rutledge. Mother, wipe your hands. He wants to see you.
What did you say, dear?
I said wipe your hands. He wants to see you.
Is the doctor still in there? Is he all right?
The doctor's gone. He wants you in there. Alone.
Oh, for goodness sake. Now what?
Just a minute. Why is he asking to see you alone?
Why, Ramsey, how should I know?
Something's up. Rutledge was in there a long time. Why wasn't I told he was sent for?
Why, well, you were in the fields this morning when he asked me to call the doctor.
Next time you tell me when he sends for people. And listen, when you get in there, watch what you say.
Why, Ramsey, I don't know what you mean.
You know very well what I mean. Just listen. And don't babble. He mightn't like my ideas about what to do with this place after he's dead. Go on in there now. You've already wiped your hands 6 times.
Yes, Ramsey, dear. You want me, Uncle Alex?
Yes, come in and shut the door, Martha.
Yes, Uncle Alex. Was the coffee all right this morning?
Yes, fine. Miss Ramsey.
He's in the kitchen.
Sit down, Martha.
Yes, Uncle Alex.
I want to talk to you, Martha. Lawyer Gaines will be here sometime this afternoon to fix up my will.
Oh, Uncle Alex.
Got a feeling my time is drawing near, Martha. And I just want to make sure that worthless nephew of mine doesn't get his hands on the Jordan place. Whatever made you marry him, Martha? Never mind. None of my business. But I could have told you he was no good. Never has been. I wouldn't trust him with the farm. He'd sell it before my body turned cold. But I trust you, Martha.
Thank you, Uncle Alex.
Yes, I've thought it all over. I'm going to leave the place to you. At least you'll have a roof over your head and some land you can call your own. You like it here, don't you?
Oh, yes, I do. I'd be perfectly happy to stay here the rest of my life.
And that's fine, because it's going to be yours. All of it.
Oh, Uncle Alex. You make me want to cry.
No, none of that.
I'm sorry.
There's one more thing, Martha. One important thing.
Yes, Uncle Alex.
I've given Dr. Rutledge some very careful instructions about my burial.
Oh, please, Uncle Alex.
Nothing to be afraid of, Martha. When it comes, it'll come, and that's all. Rutledge knows what to do. He'll tell you. And I want you to promise me that you'll follow the instructions.
Yes, of course, Uncle Alex, on my word of honor. As God is my witness.
Thank you, Martha. Oh, by Jove, you've made me feel a good deal better knowing I have someone around I can trust. Matter of fact, I think I'll get up for supper tonight. Tell Ramsey to come in and help me dress after Lawyer Gaines leaves. Tell him I don't want him in here before then.
Yes, Uncle Alex.
And don't breathe a word about this to Ramsey.
I won't. If you need anything, Uncle Alex, call me.
Yes, I will.
Oh, what did the old buzzard want?
His lawyer's coming this afternoon. You're to go in and help him dress after the lawyer leaves.
He's having supper at the table?
Yes. Bring in one of the special hams. I'll bake it with pineapple.
Did it take you 10 minutes in there to decide on baked ham with pineapple for supper?
What we decided is none of your business.
What do you mean, what you decided?
I said it was none of your business. Better get out and feed the chickens.
When did you start giving me orders?
Oh, go on out of my kitchen. I've got work to do.
What did you talk about in there?
Ramsey, you're hurting my arm.
I'll hurt more than that before I'm through. What's the lawyer coming for?
Would you like me to tell him you haven't fed the chickens yet?
Something suddenly made you awfully cocky, it seems to me. Tell me what it is. Right now.
Ramsey!
Tell me, I said.
Ramsey!
Let go of her, Ramsey.
Oh!
I was only...
Get out of the house before I lose my temper. Go on, kid.
I'm going.
If this ever happens again, Martha, you let me know.
Yes, Uncle Alex, but you shouldn't have gotten out of bed this way.
Oh, don't worry about me, Martha. I'm all right.
bacon and eggs for his breakfast.
And why not? Did you fix the fence post over on the west pasture?
Never mind the fence post. Give me that tray.
You tend to your own business. I'll take the tray into him. Your breakfast, Uncle Alec? That's funny. Uncle Alec? Uncle Alex? Oh, my Lord. Ramsey! Oh, Dr. Rutledge! Ramsey!
I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he have everlasting life. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die.
What's the matter with Martha, Doctor?
The funeral was evidently too much for her. I gave her a sedative and put her to bed upstairs. Where's the undertaker?
Down at the vault with the electrician. They're waiting for you so we can close the coffin. Of all the stupid things, he's dead, isn't he?
Yes, but we're observing his wishes to the letter.
Brass bells and electric push buttons rot.
Perhaps it is, but that's how he wanted it. And incidentally, as administrator of the estate, let me remind you that according to the terms of the will, either you or Martha must remain within earshot of that bell upstairs for 7 days. You understand that?
Yes, to my life. I'm beholden to a woman. That.
You could do worse, Ramsey. This is a nice place. I wish it were mine.
If I had my way, you could buy it in a minute.
Well, that's neither here nor there. You see that Martha gets some rest. I left a bottle of medicine on the small table beside the bed. She's to take it according to directions if she has trouble sleeping.
Lord, what's that?
Her uncle wanted a bell loud enough to be heard. He certainly got it.
Doctor.
The undertaker or the electrician at the crypt touched the push button.
Ramsey! Ramsey!
Good Lord, I forgot. The bell's hung right above the bed where she was asleep. Come on.
Oh, Ramsey! Dr. Rutledge! The bell!
Oh, it doesn't mean anything, Martha. Don't be frightened.
Oh, thank goodness. I was asleep. It hit me like a blow when it rang. For a moment, I couldn't even move. I felt paralyzed like in a dream.
There, that's all right. Go on back to bed. You'll fall asleep again with the stuff I gave you. The bell won't ring anymore. I'll go right on down to the vault and see if the coffin is closed. Get her back in the bed, Ramsey, and let her have another teaspoonful of that medicine tonight.
You just get over to the vault and stop there monkeying. I'll tend to her.
See that you do. And remember, don't leave this place for 7 days.
What's the use?
Is it morning, Ramsey?
No.
Can't you go to sleep?
No.
I'm...
Sure, you've got things your own way. Go on, sleep. Don't mind me. I'm just a hired man around here, just a hired man. Can't you at least make a cup of coffee a man can drink? Slop, that's what it is. Filthy slop.
I haven't been able to get into town and get anything fresh, Ramsey, and you know it. It's just that you're nervous and not sleeping well.
I'll drive into town.
No, Ramsey. We've still got 5 days to go.
$4 o'clock. Why can't I sleep? Why? 3 nights of it now. 3 nights with that bell hanging over my head.
moment.
Martha, you asleep? It must be that stuff Rutledge gave her. I'll take some. I can't stand it any longer. Now, maybe I'll sleep. I tell you, Martha, there's only one thing to do with the place. Sell it.
You're wasting your time, Ramsey. I will not sell it. I'm not getting any younger. I want a roof over my head. That's what Uncle Alex intended.
But now's the time to sell for it. We can get a good price.
To begin with, Ramsey, it doesn't even belong to me.
Well, it will in 2 more days, won't it?
Yes. If that bell doesn't ring.
To sleep tonight. It's the last night. Tomorrow the place is ours. I'll take some of that medicine that worked before.
I won't tell Majken. I won't tell.
Talking in her sleep. She's dreaming. Having a nightmare. Too much of this dope, maybe. Your Martha, wake up. Martha! She is dead to the world. The stuff Rutledge gave her must be powerful. That gives me an idea.
Don't trust you, Len.
You won't have to trust me much longer, you dried-up old fool. Let's have a look at the little bottle. I guess it's all right to turn the lamp on. She won't wake up. There. Now let's see what the label says. Maximum dose, 1 teaspoonful every 12 hours. Caution. Overdosing may be fatal. Overdosing may be fatal, eh?
So it, Jordan. Wait.
We'll see about that. Maximum dose, 1 teaspoonful. I could put 3 in her coffee tomorrow morning. She'd never know the difference. That stale coffee's bitter as gone anyway, and that it fits everything. Yes, I'm her only relative. If she dies, I get the place. Oh, why didn't I think of this before? Why did I wait 6 days and nights with that bell hanging over my head? Why did I? Oh, good Lord! Am I dreaming? No, it can't be. It can't. Stop! Stop that ringing!
Nancy! Nancy! The bell!
I can hear it, you fool!
Quick! Nancy!
Stay where you are! I'll stop it!
Nancy! What did you do?
What do you think I did?
The wires. You pulled out the wires.
Get back into bed.
Are you out of your mind? The key to the vault. Where is it?
What?
The key. Uncle Alex must be
You're
alive.
crazy.
He rang the bell, didn't he?
You were dreaming. Get back to bed.
Give me that vault key, Randy. Give it to me.
Now take it easy.
Don't stand there telling me to take it easy. Uncle Alex may be fighting for breath. Breathing against the coffin. Get the key.
All right. I'll go down there.
I'll go with you.
Doesn't need 2 people. Just let me get into my clothes.
I don't trust you, Randy.
You've got no right to say a thing like that, Martha. What difference does it make to me whether Alex is alive or dead? I don't stand to gain anything. He left the Jordan place to you. Oh, now where did I put that key? Must be in this drawer.
Hurry, Randy.
I'm hurrying. There, here it is.
You took something else out of that drawer, Randy.
I did not. Just the key. What's the matter with you anyway? Where are my shoes?
Under the bed. I'll be watching you from the window, Ramsey. If Uncle Alex is alive, yell to me. And I'll phone Dr. Rutledge.
There's a storm coming up. That wind's from the east. Now, let's see if this key fits. fits all right, but it won't turn. Ah, there we are. Now, where's that light switch? Here it is. Yeah, that's better. Oh, it's foul in here. It smells dead. There's the coffin. Hope they didn't screw down the lid. No, it comes right up. Yeah. He hasn't moved. He's dead. Yes, just the way he was when they put him in there. With his hands folded over the bell button. He didn't ring that bell. Who did? Oh, now I know. The storm. Lightning shorted the wire. Sure, that's what it was. It must have been. Still, I think I'd better make sure while I'm down here. Yes. Oh, Martha almost caught me taking this darning needle out of the drawer. I'll work it under his shirt and jab it through his heart. You're going to stay dead, Uncle Alex, no matter what happens.
Sandy!
Martha! You followed me.
I told you I didn't trust you. What are you doing with that darning needle in your hand?
Nothing.
Get out of the way. Let me look at him.
Dead. Stone dead.
Who rang the bell?
Well, how should I know? Maybe his ghost.
You were about to do something with that needle.
What? You really want to know? All right. I'll tell you. I was going to jab it through his black heart. I was going to make sure he was dead. And I'm still going to do it.
Ramsey, you're out of your mind.
Am I? We'll see.
Keep away from that coffin.
Shut up.
I'll scream, Ramsey. The Prestons will hear me.
No, you won't.
Yes, I will. Help! Help!
Oh, so that's how it is. Wait till I close this door. Now scream your lungs out.
Ramsey, don't do anything you'll regret.
Regret? Why waste this needle on old dead Alex? I might do much better using it on you. Jab into your heart.
Ramsey!
Why not? Then I get to own the place and sell it.
Ramsey, listen to me.
I listened to you plenty these last few weeks. Ever since he made you the high and mighty boss. But now, it's my turn.
Ramsey!
They'll never find you down here. No, you'll dry up and rot. Just like he's rotting in that coffin.
Ramsey! No! Ramsey!
Fainted before I could touch her. Wait a minute. That gives me an idea. There's a better way of doing it. Carry her up to the house, pour that medicine down her throat, give her an overdose. She'll be dead by morning, and no one can pin it on me. Oh, this is beautiful. Everything's working out fine. You're going to be rich, Ramsey. You're rich. Get the door open first, and then... Lord, the key's on the outside. And it's a snap lock. No! Oh, what am I going to do? I'm locked in here. I can't get out. The door's solid open. 6 inches thick. There are no windows. No air. Well, the push button's in his hands. I'll keep ringing it. Yes. Sooner or later, someone will hear it. Yeah, this should do it. The Prestons or the MacArthurs, they're bound to hear it and investigate. I'll keep ringing it all night. I'll... Oh, the wires in the bedroom. I ripped them out. The bell won't ring. Oh, God! I'm trapped in here! I'm trapped!
That was The Strange Burial of Alexander Jordan, starring Mr. Edmund Gwen, For our next exploration into the darkness of the human mind, I have invited the celebrated exponent of the Mysterioso, Peter Laura, to be our guest. So join with us when once again we raise the shadowy curtain of the unknown and look deep into the souls of men. Until then, this is your master of mystery, Dr. X, leaving you with Creeps by Night.
Okay, Jason, that was a little bit more than I expected. We seem to have a computer with a heavy hand.
Yes, we do.
What'd you think of the story?
It was interesting.
In all honesty.
No, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good.
I'm going to say it was awesome. It was incredible, and the computer did a great job. Heil, computer.
Yes. Don't piss them off, because you know what my biggest fear is, other than clowns and spiders.
No, what's that, Jason?
Computer overlords.
You saying that our new computer is an overlord, then?
Probably, yeah. Look at his beady eyes over there. You know he's sitting there looking at us, just planning his next move.
You remember that television show with I think it was called Knight Rider?
Yes.
That's what it reminds me of.
Mm-hmm. I actually sat in that car one time.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, I did. It came up to the Hartford Civic Center in the 1980s, and I got to sit in it. And believe it or not, it really did talk to you. You could ask it questions, and it would ask you your name, and then it would repeat the name back to you. So that's how they had to say Michael and all that other kind of stuff. But I had a great conversation with the car. It was pretty cool.
Well, I think Kit could destroy our computer here on board the horror train.
Probably could.
Okay, Jason. Hey, it's time for emails and news.
Yes, it is. So, as you know, last episode we did was about curses, and there's a lot of people in here freaking out on me, but that's okay. We'll take it one step at a time, and I will try to restrain myself, get inside my inner peace while we read these things. But here we go.
Okay.
We begin with this insightful tweet from Nose for Beer.
Love it.
It says, "My mother likes it. My sister loves it. My dad told me about it, and now I love the Horror Express too. Check it out at ronsamazingstories.com/horror-express. Woohoo! We got
wow! Hey, we don't even have to answer that. I agree.
No, I agree too. I can't see anything wrong with that. I love self praise and shameless plugs. Those are two good things.
Also, I have a nose for beer.
You do. I don't.
Oh, you don't?
No, I do not have a nose for beer.
Okay.
All right. Number 2 says this is actually another tweet that is pretty sweet, and it comes from Hey Rob Cookies. Okay. He says, "My favorite horror flick of all time is Nightmare on Elm Street. I didn't sleep for weeks. Thanks for a great show. I think I have. Wow, he said that kind of weird. He said, I think I have listened to all now." So I think he's probably referring to the one we did about our favorite horror movies.
Yeah, and you know what? He probably, since it was a tweet, he probably ran out of characters.
That's pretty good, yeah. So that's probably why it sounded like that. But
let's see if I can translate for you. Thanks for the great show. Oh, yeah, that is written weird.
Yes.
Thanks for the great show. Oh, I got it. I think I've listened to them all now. He left out the word them.
Yes.
I think I've listened to them all now.
But out of all the slasher movies, Nightmare on Elm Street was probably one of the coolest that I've always enjoyed, more than, say, Friday the 13th or any of those. So I agree with him. That actually was one of my favorite shows. And it was actually one of the first horror movies I actually watched when I was younger in the 1980s when that came out.
I remember being terrified. I'm going to be honest. It was definitely new and fresh for a teen slasher movie.
Yes.
It was unique. And I didn't want to sleep because I was afraid I was going to have bad dreams.
Yes. They had a really weird 1, 2, buckle my shoe. Oh, wait, no, like 1, 2, she's coming for you, something like that. It was really cool. That still fits in my head when I hear that, when I hear Nightmare on Elm Street.
It was a classic. Now, I won't say that the rest of them were, but the first one was definitely special.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Number 3. This is from Brian Johnson, a returning quizzer. Posted this on our website, actually. It says, OMG, you guys are funny, fresh, and I love the content. The story was cool, but what I really want to know is this. If curses are only figments of our imagination, and the spores that killed were just nature, how did those spores only grow in Egyptian tombs and not the Aztec or Incan versions? Don't say whether, because at the time the climates were similar. Jason. So I guess this is coming to me.
When I see the word Jason, I shut up.
Right. Well, honestly, I'm sitting here thinking about this too myself, because it is interesting, because at the time when the Egyptians were buried there, it was a very plentiful, like, forest-like area before it turned into this arid, dry desert. And, so basically South America and North America are very similar. And even if you look at the Pangea, where they break apart, South America would almost fit perfectly into Africa if it was together. So it does make a lot of sense. Why it only grew over there, I don't know. But it seemed to have only grown in that specific area, because there were other tombs over there, not just that one, that physically had those same spores in there, but they were not deemed as cursed. So that is something that's interesting. I'm almost willing to bet it may have actually been maybe with some of the stuff or the treatments that they were using to store the mummies with. I don't know. I know that they were pretty advanced, but there are some things that actually could cause it to do that. Maybe, and I think this is more so than anything else, is that when that great drought did happen in Egypt, a lot of that stuff was actually underneath the sand for a long time. Actually, if you look at King Tut's tomb, it's actually underground. There's not a pyramid over it. So, the pyramids that we had over here in the South America were actually above ground. It's still tropical, where over there it's more arid. So maybe with the way that the climate changed and how it just kind of it went from tropical to desert, and it is by the Dead Sea, which happens to be a lot of salt. There's a lot of things that could actually be involved in that. But the ones that seem to have the specific quote-unquote mildew and spores were actually underground. They weren't ones that were built above ground.
And Jason, I'm going to buy that. I'm going to say that I agree with you on that. They certainly were similar then, but certainly not now.
Right.
And so they never went through that dry, arid time that may have caused the same issues. So I think that's as good a scientific explanation as you're going to get. Now, I am still not convinced that the spores aren't a manifestation of the curse.
Right.
That I'm not going to give you. But the growing part, how they could grow, 100% agree.
Mm-hmm. I mean, mold is mold. I mean, we have it everywhere. Honestly, the more toxic it is, depends on the area and the way that it grows. I mean, you can walk into a house that has mold that's not black mold or anything like that, and you'll never know it and never get sick. So it just kind of depends on what grew there and what other things helped it grow and manifested it over the years. And you never know what that could be. I mean, it is death. I mean, no matter how well you try to wrap that up there, there's still death in there. I mean, it's just like opening up any type of grave. I mean, just because that somebody died of yellow fever back in the 1700s doesn't mean that that's still not going to be active when you dig it up. Doesn't mean it's a curse, but it doesn't mean that it's technically a safe thing to do. Anytime you disturb graves, you're playing Russian roulette. That's
okay.
the only way to get it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the Black Plague originally attributed to a curse?
It was.
Am I thinking of something else?
No, it was actually. They thought it was a curse, but the difference was it was a virus or a bacteria that were caused by that the rats were bringing around. When they realized that the rats were spreading it, because it was highly infested with rats. Actually, it's more of a plague than I would say a curse. And I think they realized that later. But it was actually rats that brought it in, and it was fleas or something that they were on the rats that they were getting on the people and biting them and causing it to spread.
Well, you know what? We should probably move on, but I have a feeling, looking at the next question, we're going to be continuing this discussion.
Yeah, we had a lot of hate. I had a lot of hate mail. All right, this is from Bill Waite 765, and he wrote, the Curse Show was fantastic. I made my way through college working through a National Geographic Society in the Honduras rainforest. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I know it. What a cool job.
Right? We hacked their way into the pristine rainforest in Honduras to confirm remains of virtually unknown cultures that thrived in the eastern Mesquite region 1,000 years ago. We eventually found a series of statues that we uncovered and examined. After a couple of days, many of our group began reporting having nightmares, myself included. When we compared notes, all of the dreams had the same basic elements. Also, during the night, we posted guards to watch for jaguars and other big cats. They would report strange shadows by the statues. No one was allowed near the dig during the night. I tell you this because many of us felt this place was cursed. You will not change my mind on this.
Okay. See, like I said, we're going to continue talking about curses here. And I agree with him. If the whole valley is cursed and all these people started having these dreams and they start seeing shadow people, sounds pretty bad to me, Jason.
I agree. But could this also be a potential haunting?
Oh, most definitely.
As opposed to a curse. Because not all curses are haunts, and not all haunts are curses. I actually had a dream with my grandmother when she passed away, that she came to me in the middle of the night because I didn't get to say goodbye to her, and she was talking to me. And I was actually able to describe her, when I woke up, I actually thought she was sitting at the end of my bed. She was so real.
Wow.
And my mom woke up the next day and told me the same thing, that my grandmother had appeared to her. And we both described her instantaneously with the exact same thing. Exactly what she was wearing, what she looked like, and everything. Now, that kind of describes this thing, too. So, I think when you think of ancient cultures and the way that they protect themselves, one of the biggest things that they do consider is curses. But we don't know if that place was cursed or not. I don't know if he actually found something that says that, anybody that steps on the sacred ground is cursed. I don't know if it's cursed. It could just be simply a haunting in its own right. And honestly, when you go into old places, and I mean these statues are really old, and I'm sure that they give you a creep feel to it. It can actually make you more susceptible to anything that is out there because your body is preparing for the worst. The same thing when you go in these old houses and you think that they're haunted. You're not going to sleep good. You're not going to sleep good at all, and you're probably going to have nightmares because your brain is going to sit there and physically say, "Oh, we're in a weird spot." I mean, I can't say that that's what happened here. I don't know what happened here. I don't know if this place was cursed or not. But I have a feeling that to me seems more like an actual haunting to me. That's just my...
And again, I can't refute what you're saying. What I can say is what Bill says. I'm assuming that's what he goes by. Is that you're not going to change my mind. We all decided it was a curse.
Right.
So therefore, isn't it a curse?
You never know.
Well,
but here,
okay.
Something I would like to talk. We were talking about before we started to discuss this thing, and that is with curses. I'd actually like to see a curse happen to somebody that they don't know that they're cursed. I was talking to you last time, and we were talking about how my family was supposedly cursed, and the firstborn male on my dad's side of the family was supposedly cursed, but it has never happened. Also, because I do know that it's supposedly there, I can make it happen with my own mind. When you go to these fortune tellers, and we've talked about fortune tellers before, it's very easy to make a broad statement on something, and then you can physically get so worked up over it, whether even if it's good or bad, you can make it happen. Like, for instance, if a psychic says, "You know what, I know you're going to come into some money," they don't tell you how much it is. They're just going to say you're going to come into some money. So what are you going to do? You're going to go start looking, and you're going to keep your eyes open more. And so you might pass a dime on the ground that technically you weren't looking for. But now that you looked at it, you're like, oh, the thing came true. Well, it kind of did come true. But you kind of helped make it happen at the same time. I want to see a curse that can actually happen when people don't know that they're cursed and find out about it later, but all this bad stuff happens. To me, that is more credible than knowing about it, because you can conjure. I've actually watched people kill themselves with their minds. They get so depressed, or they believe that they're going to die. They're going to die of this or that, and this or that, and they do. My grandmother said she didn't want to hit the age of 60 because she thought 60 was old. She didn't want to grow old. She wanted to stay young. At 59 and a half, she just suffered from a stroke, and 4 weeks before her 60th birthday, she passed away from that stroke. So, that, to me, she made that you can make things happen with your mind. You can make yourself sick. You can cure yourself if you want to. That's how powerful our minds are. So I want to know how much of it we bring on ourselves and how much of it is actually a third-party person. And I know a couple other people that actually have committed curses on other people, but they can't verify that it actually worked.
Okay. Let me just ask this one question, and then we'll actually move on, too.
Okay.
But he said, quote, after a couple of days, many of our group began reporting nightmares. Okay, now, think about that statement for just a minute. They weren't preconditioned to have nightmares.
No.
And hauntings, do hauntings generate nightmares? I haven't heard that they do. And that might just be my ignorance.
Nope, they actually can commit nightmares because sometimes that's how they communicate with you in the night, in the middle of the night, and especially if they happen to be doing a lot of black stuff in there, like maybe they were headhunters, maybe they were people that were more violent in nature, or they did a lot of human sacrifices to their gods and stuff like that. That can bring on demonic possessions, and demons can do some horrible things to you.
Yeah, good point.
If you actually watch these shows on like Lifetime or Destination America or anything like that, a lot of them start off by having nightmares.
Yeah, you're right about that. You still haven't changed my mind. It doesn't sound like you're going to change Bill's mind much.
No.
But let's move on and see what the next person has to say. And I have the feeling we're going to be talking about curses again.
Yes, we are. This is at Bill Strange Brew tweeted. What is it with brews and beers here?
Strange Brew, that's a song.
Oh, it is. I thought it was actually like just a bad, weird tasting beer, but that's
No, Strange Brew is an actual song. I believe, if I'm probably wrong, but I think Steve Miller sang it. I'm sure that we'll get an email from someone telling us what it is.
Probably.
But it is a song, that I'm sure of.
Right.
Okay.
Well, he tweeted this. He said, hold on, guys. You can't make general conclusions like curses are bad without proof. You offered nothing that suggested that there is anything to any curse.
And I think that's what you've been saying all along.
That's what I have been saying the whole time. Not all curses are bad. Sometimes people actually put hexes on people to help reverse their negative polarity and get into something decent. So they're not all bad, but there is no proof that, to me, that curses are actually caused by human beings. We can just believe them. And if you want, and like I said with ghosts and stuff like that, there are people that are going to have ghost pictures. You can actually watch it on a video. They're going to say, no, it was doctored. You're going to get pictures of people actually doing, seeing a ghost right in front of their face. They're going to believe it like Scrooge did, that it's just a dollop of a mustard or potato that they ate that didn't digest well, and they're seeing things. But then there are going to be people that are going to believe it no matter what you do. So curses really are up to you. And if you want to believe in them, awesome. There's nothing saying that you can't believe in them. I just don't personally believe in them myself. But if somebody can show me something definitive about it, and actually show me something like I said earlier today about not knowing that you're cursed, yet this curse said this and this and this and this are going to happen to you, that I would probably believe more, and then I would be more open to that type of a suggestion.
All right, Jason, it looks like one more from the cursed people.
Yes. And this one had to say, my mother is a Pennsylvania Dutch. She would disagree with Jason. Curses are real, my friend.
Everything that I've ever read about Pennsylvania Dutch and their hexes, which is a curse,
right.
There's some truth to this one. There's truth to the Pennsylvania Dutch and the hexes. Whether or not that so-and-so hexed this person, and then so-and-so B makes it happen, their curses come real. And it might be that, they hire somebody to make the curse happen. You're going to die in a week. Go hire Joe Smith, and they die in a week. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So, I mean, you can, like you said all along, curses can be made to happen. I believe the Pennsylvania Dutch fall into that category, and I think that there's something to their curses. Now, they did a lot of things like made cows dry up and cornfields go bad, and that was the extent of their curses, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, this one is actually for you, Ron.
Oh, we're done with curses.
Possibly.
Oh, possibly.
This one comes from Robert Felden of Tampa. Actually, that's where I live, so that's pretty cool. It says, my grandfather lived in Vancouver, USA until he retired in 2008 and then came to live here with us in Florida. Back in the day, he used to lead trips to Lake Merwin to look for Bigfoot. He remembers a guy named Ron that would occasionally join the group. Was that you? And this would have been in the mid-90s.
Yeah, that was me.
Were you there?
I was me. That was me.
That was you.
I went like 3 times in the 90s. I did. Honestly, I did.
That's a small world.
Okay. But honestly, and I actually kind of got some chills because there were some things that we couldn't explain happened. At the time, my head said, oh, there's just somebody out there beating on a tree. Or we would use the women of the group to call out, because supposedly if you use females to call out to Sasquatch, they're more likely to call back. And we actually had a callback.
Really?
And so, yes, that was me. I went up to Lake Merwin all of the time as a kid from, about age 8 until about 28. My parents had a retirement home up there. And I'm telling you, I spent half my life fishing and camping and running that area. I know the area like the back of my hand. And yes, I went Bigfoot hunting in the 90s. I haven't been since, but I did that.
How come you haven't been since?
I don't know. Well, you know, at the time I was in the 90s, I was working for Intel, which is a major chip manufacturer.
Right.
And for those that don't know. And I was an engineer at the time, and my life was 60 hours a week at Intel. And so this was kind of a relaxing thing that I did to get away, for a few hours out in the woods, just to clear my mind type of stuff. And I just knew some friends that were taking a couple groups out, a couple summers, and I just decided to go along.
That's really cool. There's nothing like that around here, unfortunately. We have swamp monkeys down here.
Yeah. Yes, I know you do. But that's probably they didn't mention. I don't remember anyone named Felton, but that doesn't mean that his grandfather's last name was Felton. I don't know. You know, there were a lot of people there. There were usually 12, 13 people there at these events. Mm-hmm. And we would go out late at night and and we should probably save this. I tell you what, I'll tell you more about our adventures in an upcoming adventure that Jason and I are going to have.
Yes.
So, is there any more?
Yeah, actually we have one more, and this is more of a compliment. So let's check this out. This is at thereal.mikejones, and he tweeted, just finished listening to all 12 episodes of the Horror Express series. Great stuff. You guys do a good show. How about an episode on Bigfoot or the Yeti?
Which is why I said we'd talk about it more in the future. Because Jason and I are going to do Sasquatch in HE number 14.
Now, isn't technically the Yeti, that's the one in the Himalayan mountains, right?
Yes, it is. But supposedly it's another big hairy ape. Mm-hmm. And so Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, all the same thing.
Just different parts of the world.
Yep.
All right, well, that's all we have.
I gotta say, that's gotta be one of the more spirited Q&As we've had, Jason.
Yes, it has been. I enjoyed them.
You definitely have, I think, probably the right view on curses. But for me, I guess to close the whole curse thing, and I think this is what I said at the last show, I don't mess with them.
Right. And that's good. I wouldn't want to mess with them either. I don't believe that they're real, but I also don't want to chance it and find out that they are.
Yep, agreed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jason, well, I think it's time to turn it over to the conductor. What do you think? I think we're out of material for this podcast.
We are, unfortunately. So, yeah, we will have to come back and do the next show. I mean, this is a lot of fun.
Well, we can say now for sure it's going to be HE number 14, and it is on the Sasquatch.
The Sasquatch.
Take it away, Mr. Conductor Man.
Well, thanks, guys, for another great show. But again, you've got it all wrong. Being a vampire is not all that bad. The hours are good, and you never have to worry about traffic at night. Of course, there is that annoyance of people and their pitchfork mentality, but that can be overcome with some urban legend planning, if you know what I mean. That's it for the Horror Express this time. If you have questions or comments for Jason, Ron, or myself, please email us at ronsamazingstories@gmail.com or tweet us at RASPodcast. Oh yes, now the bad news. There's no way off this train. You're gonna have to jump. Good luck, and see you next time on the Horror Express.
All of the vintage audio used in the podcast is believed to be in the public domain. Ron's Amazing Stories does not own the rights to any of the old-time radio used here. If you hold the rights to any of the shows played, please contact us immediately at ronsamazingstories.com.